Welcome back to Just Siri. You can join the conversation via our social media platforms. We are at News Central everywhere. Today we turn our focus to a very critical issue at the intersection of governance, technology, and human rights. That is data protection. Recently, digital rights and digital rights advocacy group Paradigm Initiative took the bold step of suing Nigeria's National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, over allegations of data breaches. At the heart of the matter is the safety and privacy of millions of Nigerians whose sensitive information is stored in the national databases. In an era where data is power, the implications of such breaches are enormous, affecting not just privacy, but also national security and trust in public institutions. And today, joining us to unpack this development is Gbenga Sesan, the Executive Director of Paradigm Initiative, a leading voice in digital rights and inclusion advocacy. His organization has taken a bold step by filing a public interest lawsuit against this breach, holding several agencies accountable, and that makes him the perfect person to have this conversation with right here on Just Siri. So we're going to say a very digital welcome to Mr. Not digital. Gbenga wasn't sure what was going on during the break. He didn't know if he was safe. We were putting him in the middle. You were here to represent your species. Yeah.
Well,
leave it. Let's on our focus.
Let's focus on our focus. All right, so this story started around March last year when Paradigm Initiative reported that you had found the information of Nigerians, including Nigeria's Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Bosun Tijani, on sale online for as little as 100 naira. That's all my information is worth, 100 naira. Gbenga, please, can you take us deeper into the start of this, how this all started?
So this started, I should start by saying story, because to be honest, this started way before now. And it's not, and this is why when we have this conversation, I tell people that you need to rewind to the very beginning of Nigeria's first biometric project. Everybody knows this now, that during the Obasanjo time, when we were trying to register the data of Nigerians, there was the SAGEM of France. Yeah. And the deal went bad eventually. And SAGEM came out recently to say they're not giving that data to Nigeria. Okay? And so it's not something that started today. Nigeria has always been very unserious with data protection. Until 2024, last year, when we got the act, there were many things that we did, as a shock, just to react to things. So at some point, we needed, to get, we claimed that we needed to know where Nigerians are for security reasons. And so let everybody start registering. And different ministries started registering, different agencies. So you need a passport. Give us your biometric details. Yeah. And at that time, I think it was clear to everyone that it had become a sea of corruption and projects. It wasn't about getting the data anymore. It was about, oh, these guys are getting their own data. Okay, let's get our own too. Yeah. So you want to write WAEC, bring your thumbprint. You want to get a license, bring your biometric details. You want a phone, bring your biometric details. And at some point, a few presidents said, okay, you know what? Let's bring this together. Let this data come together. And as far back as, I don't even remember this. This was, I think, the very first Director General of NIMC. And we approached them and said, listen, we know there is a problem. Yeah. We will work with you to get Nigerians to be aware of data privacy rights. But the problem is when they become aware, they will start suing you if you do anything wrong. And then they invited us to come and visit the premises where the data is stored. And I was like, wait a second. Asking us to come and visit this secure facility, to me, sounds like, yeah, you're trying to give us the impression that it's safe, but do you even know who you're talking to? Exactly. And to be honest, at the time, it involved the Secret Service because they thought, oh, why are these guys talking like this? Maybe they are fighting. Because there was a lot of interest in Nigeria's data at the time. There were private interests and who were bidding for the project before Nigeria then set up NIMC. And there was an assumption that maybe I or maybe my organization, was representing the interest of one of the parties. So the Secret Service got involved. But we were cleared. Because, to be honest, the only thing we want is to make sure that the data of Nigerians is protected. So fast forward to a few years ago, 2-3 years ago, when NIN became a thing. And the minister at the time Dr. Pantami said, Nigerians go out and register for NIN. And
Give us deadlines.
Yes. Deadlines. And we went to court at the time to say, listen, you don't work this way. And we knew why it was going on. It was going on because Nigeria was, as usual, running against a deadline, either to get a grant or to meet something. And the problem is you're the one running against a deadline. You are the one who is incompetent. But you're punishing citizens for your own incompetence. And the biggest problem for us was during COVID. They then said, go out and register. And we said, you're killing people. Fast forward, the same foreign minister has now come out to say, I contributed to ransom. And you promised Nigerians, give me your data and ransoms will stop.
I will find the kidnappers.
I will find the kidnappers. Yes. The question then remained, why are you not finding the kidnappers? And the answer, I think, is in one of these challenges. There was a breach. In March, we knew there was a breach. Experts verify. Everybody talked about it. And to be honest, we need to say thank you to the media. I mean, you guys helped with this. FIJ released the information. Civil society went to town with them and said, well, do something about it. And of course, everybody kept quiet because there was a slap on the wrist. And then again, in April, we were doing our own investigations and checking. I mean, we've been around for a while, so we know the way these things work. When things go quiet, then the operators start again. And we found another one, NIVerify. .com.ng. But this time, we didn't report immediately. Because we were like, if we report immediately, it will go down. And so we said, let's do our investigation and check to see that. And then we checked, my data is available. 100 naira. I felt, to be honest, I felt,
you felt cheap. I told you, my data was only 100 naira.
For senior citizens, maybe they are also, maybe they are over 1 billion. Minister, 100 naira. Judiciary, legislator, executive, everybody 100 naira, and the information available. And let me paint the picture. You've seen a NIN slip before. It has your picture. It has your mobile number. It has your home address. It has your NIN, and it has the verification number and all those details. That is what you get for 100 naira. And the reason why we then decided to say, you know what, if we report this again, and we had reported legally and done all that, we had even gone to court. We said, okay, now we need evidence in court for another case. So we decided to take the risk. I mean, we're advocacy organizations, and because we can do this work, we then bought our own and in quotes their own.
Okay, Gbenga, hold on. Gbenga is a fantastic story.
No, because I'm going. Are we taking a break now?
No.
Okay, so I'm looking at this 100 naira, and Tolu has said it 2 times. That's how much I'm worth, 100 naira. Let's take a look at you saying that one of the websites you discovered sold Nigerians' personal data for 100 naira, but was visited. Listen, guys, it was visited 567,990 times last year, February, and 118,360 times in April last year by individuals. Now, for this 100 naira, what kind of information are they looking for exactly? What are we talking about, and what exactly was on sale for 100? Who put it on sale? There are questions that are going one after the other. And who were those who could? The people that could possibly buy this kind of information. And you know we are many. We are over 200 million. Probably they are selling it for $100 because you don't want to raise eyebrows, and $100 times 200 million. Guy, do the math. Is our numbers person.
So whoever was doing this understands, I hope understood, but I have a feeling it understands the power of scale. If you sell 1 million, at 100, that's 100 million.
Listen.
And if you sell at 100, you don't raise many eyebrows, because this is the same, and I will go back to the spirit of Otigba, when people used to buy CDs of the addresses and information of 5 million most important Nigerians. That was a physical CD in those days. That exactly is what is happening right now in terms of selling information. Home address. You know what people can do with home addresses.
That's setting for kidnapping.
Alone.
How do you see hacking? 419, people come into your house.
The other question we asked was, if I can generate your NIN slip, it means I can get a SIM card in your name. And, you know, NIMC kicked back and said, no, it's impossible. Gbenga Sesan does not know what he's talking about. He's an illiterate and all that. I mean, one of their, staff said that on TV. And I was watching and laughing and enjoying his oratory, or lack of it. And the interesting thing is that with this information, you have mobile numbers. It means it is possible that apart from even trying to clone your phone, if I have your phone number, don't forget, what do politicians that are involved in corruption sell in Abuja? Mobile numbers. I want a contract. What am I selling? Mobile number. Yeah. It means that if I get your mobile number, I can make money. A minister's number, I can sell it to people and make money in the name of access. Isn't that what they do in Abuja? I mean, I know, you know, the media, you know. So this is where the challenge is for us. So that's why we decided we want proof. And in getting proof, we decided to get strategic information. The Minister of Digital Economy, and I know questions have been asked, oh, he's not the one who supervises NIMC, where do you get his information? But this is the person who has been tasked with the work of the digital economy in Nigeria, and it's important to demonstrate to him and his office that this is what is possible. The second was the Director General of the agency in charge of data protection in Nigeria, who at that time were even, I mean, we're partners with the Data Protection Commission. We do events together. And one of the things we say to them is, there are two ways where we have a relationship. First of all, we work together to make sure that people are aware. But secondly, when something goes wrong, we will bite through a lawsuit. And the reason for that is not because we have any other interest, but the interest of Nigerians. So that's why we went to court in July. And we did not just sue NIMC this time. We wanted to be sure that everybody who is involved, CBN, the interbank settlement system, immigration. Immigration is a special case.
Very special.
I'm still looking for money personally to sue immigration because my name is on my passport that everybody sees, and that is illegal, by the way, because that violates Nigeria's Data Protection Act. So when my money is complete, I will sue immigration. But for now, you know, we will keep on this. NIS, Immigration Service, Federal Inland Revenue Service, FRSC, we know why, licenses, INEC. Let's not even start on INEC. INEC has lost data of Nigerians multiple times. There were times when, there was one time I could not vote because my data was lost and INEC was not able to own up to it. And it wasn't just me. I mean, many people. We know someone was arrested in Oyo State because the person was carrying data of Nigerians and they were going to sell to politicians and things like that. And apart from that, Nigeria Data Protection Commission and the Office of the Attorney General, because you're the Chief Law Officer and you're supposed to make sure this doesn't happen. The case was scheduled for January, and we're very glad, you know, January 22, a few days ago.
Because he's going to take us through the whole story.
You know, to another way, I just want to ask you that, okay, because this is a very interesting conversation, and a lot of people that are commonplace, I would sit down and talk for the normal woman outside, the woman that people are sending messages to her phone, to hack her phone, to take her data, to take her bank, to take her money. One of my friends just told me over the weekend that her dollar card, she just went to, her son bought something and all the money in her card was wiped out. Of course, they use data for all these kinds of things. They can clone your SIM, make payments in your name with all your details out there. You know, I want to ask that, what are the data protections that we are expected to even expect when I share my data with NIMC? And this is not just an NIMC issue. This is a BVN issue, a driver's license issue. It's an issue that whenever we share our data, this happens. What is the government supposed to do to be able to keep our data safe? Because I'll say this because I know even in America, the Facebooks, the TikToks, they're getting sued left, right, and center. And it's all about data. And I want to say that I believe that we have been listened to sometimes. This morning we were just talking, I was saying, okay, she was singing a song because it was uncanny for me. I was with my phone and I had not touched anything. I wanted to post a reel on my Instagram. Do you know the first song that I saw was the song we were singing? So I know it's like, okay, conspiracy
Big Brother is
listening, but how is that a coincidence?
And besides, we've heard of cases where I think there's even an ongoing court case that Siri is being sued for.
I know, Apple has lost and they're meant to pay compensation they've lost.
That she wasn't,
Big Tech has admitted that they listen. Okay, and one of the things they will tell you is go to your settings and remove the default and turn off.
But why should it be default?
You know, which is why in many countries that are serious, and I say this thing with all sense of responsibility, is serious, and your question was what should government do? A serious government takes care of its own citizens. And while taking care of its own citizens, in turn takes care of itself. But what we have, unfortunately, right now is a government, a selfish government that takes care of its own self at the risk of not taking care of everyone else. I mean, look at every sector. Nigerians are struggling to get visas somewhere. Government goes to have a meeting, then the country says, okay, officials with Nigerian official passport can enter. Other citizens are not allowed. And that is where the challenge is. The duty of government when it comes to data protection comes on two levels. Number one, human rights obligations are compulsory for governments. They have the duty of care for your rights, your data protection rights. That's why it's in the Constitution. Section 37, Section 39, all of the sections in the Constitution that talk about freedom of expression and privacy protect us. Secondly, the president signed, and this is not a former president, so we can't be saying, oh, President Tinubu signed the data protection law that basically says that government will protect. And apart from that, the NDPC will make sure that anyone who violates the rights, and there are many rights. One is the right for you to be notified if there is a breach in the use of your data.
We were not notified. Were you notified?
When this was being
Did they say, dear
instead of
Catherine,
notifying
we want to
you, what
inform you
NIMC
that-
was busy doing was trying to cover this fire, and smoke will show. Unfortunately, they've asked many questions. What is your interest? Do you want to embarrass Nigeria? If it takes embarrassing NIMC to get them to do the right thing, then let's do it for God's sake. Because unfortunately, this has been happening for many years, and it is happening again. And if you sweep this under the carpet, to the question of, big data, big tech. In Nigeria, we sued Meta. That's the
Parent company of Facebook.
The parent company of Facebook was sued by the, that used to be known as, what's the name of the commission again in charge of?
Telecom?
No, where Tunde Rukera. I remember the name of it.
FCCPC, Federal
FCCPC.
Consumer Complaints Protection. Yes.
Sued, questioned Meta. My question, and this is one of the central questions we're asking Nigeria, is that when the person who violates is external, we see you show muscle.
Yes.
When the person who violates, let Gbenga Sesan or any activist or any media person violate, in quotes, panty straight. But when the people who are custodians of data, NIMC, when they violate, and I say violate because who stole the data? NIMC says they don't know, but that there may be, they are investigating. They will investigate it 2029 or 27 after elections. Or 2031. But to be honest, this investigation is a sham. And I say this with all sense of responsibility because within your system, if you know there has been a leak, either it is someone who legally had access to your data, or somebody who, if it's either way, legal or illegal. If it's legal, you punish the person. If it's illegal, it means you have a problem, and you plug the hole. Whichever the case, we haven't seen that done. The first that happened was the NSA, the police, and everybody cleared NIMC. And I mean, good luck to everybody for clearing NIMC. But the question is, will it happen again? My bet is if no one is punished, it will happen again. And my guess is that it has even happened again already. And we won't know until someone cries out.
I have a really big question on this, because when you talk about the big tech aspect of it, you mentioned the default listening aspect. Is there a situation possible where there is a default ability to share with third parties? Because when many of us sign, we talked about terms and conditions. We don't read. And let me tell you, it's long, it's legalese, we're not going to read. But somewhere there, many websites and many apps note the fact that when you say I agree without reading, you're opting in for your data being shared to third parties. They'll tell you to improve your experience, to give you targeted ads and information. In any of this situation with any government agency, is there any possibility that in the way they were set up, Nigerians unwillingly opted in to have their data shared?
So there are two things. When a child is below 18, that child is the responsibility of the parent.
Yes.
And so if that child puts his or her hand in fire, who do you hold responsible?
The parent.
The child? You say, why did you do that? But the primary responsibility is to the parent. Interesting enough, when it comes to the data of citizens, the custodian of that data is government. It means that even if Gbenga Sesan decides to be stupid and I want to give my data to people to use it anyhow, you as government, it is your responsibility to make sure that you put barriers in place for me not to do that.
For my stupidity not to bounce back.
Because my stupidity will leak and affect many other people. So your responsibility is to protect everybody. So even if, which is why they've gone after Meta, for example, as they should when there is something going wrong. Many times they've talked about, WhatsApp. There was a case at some point also with this app that allows everybody to see your number, whether you save it or not.
One of the calling apps,
Truecaller. And there was a big case in Nigeria, and then Truecaller eventually sent representatives to Nigeria and had this conversation. But that is on the end of that. And by the way, because we do digital security training, we explain to people all the time that these things are long and legalese and you don't read them. But please, one of these days when you are bored and you scroll through Instagram and you read all the gist, just spend 5 minutes to go to the settings. For example, if you go to history.google.com, everywhere you've been is logged in there.
Hey! Some of us have secrets.
Gbenga, this thing you are saying with such freedom.
So with such peace.
Do you understand?
But me, I wonder why everybody is not even alarmed. We're talking every day. We've taken stories, countless stories here, how Yahoo's boys are thriving.
Do you remember
Nigeria. Do you know how much access they have to data?
The jam situation.
The jam. Look, they have access to people's emails. They have access to people's phone numbers. They can even put your phone number on something so abroad that can tarnish your image. And we're just like...
There's the scam of incognito, because a lot of people believe that, on Google, there's a part where you go incognito.
Wait, Gbenga, incognito does not work.
I'm sorry.
So it does not work.
Why you saying? Somebody explain to me, why does it bother to do so much to do?
I said I have secrets.
Let me explain. So,
wait, before you
incognito.
Wait. I'm going to make you guys wait for the explanation. We're going for a quick break right now. We'll be back and the conversation will continue. Stay with us.
And also telling us some things that we probably did not want to know. So before I ask the next question, we're talking about incognito. And then there's also, let me just also add, there are some apps, almost every app now that would be asking you, allow app to track you. And I'm like, why must even pictures,
just say track while
want to track everything that you're doing? So let's go back to the incognito. Are you cognito or not?
I mean, everybody's cognito, to be honest. So incognito, and I say this because there are many parents who also want to be very careful. Your children are coming of age and they're using the web, they're using platforms.
You're coming back for that conversation.
You can always find out whatever is put out there. So incognito is incognito to the person who is checking, but for someone who is willing to invest the time and check for another app that allows you to see the browsing history, you can actually see the browsing history.
I know some people have their phones like this right now. Oh my God. Bless you have another question before we move on.
So I think my next question is still centered around, the NIMC discussion. Now, do you think that the NIMC and most government organizations have the infrastructure and the expertise to manage all this information securely? Because that's one, especially, let's say, for example, the security sector. Sometimes we hear things like, oh, we have used a kind of technology, and you're wondering, so you have this technology. So does the same apply for, data information management? Do we have the expertise and infrastructure to manage this information? Or is this just a systemic failure?
The answer is yes. And this is very interesting. The answer is yes to does NIMC have the capacity? The answer is yes, actually. The short answer is yes. The long answer is they do have the capacity.
Can they use it?
But,
of course,
once you do not punish errors, you leave room for impunity.
Absolutely.
That's where the challenge is. For my own sake, for your own sake, for everybody's sake, they had better, after all of the money that has been spent, they had better have the capacity. And they do. Nigeria does not lack human capital. In fact, when this case happened, there was a group of ethical hackers that reached out and that were, I'm aware, that were connected to everyone who was concerned to say, do you need help? And these are ethical hackers. So these are people who could choose to do the wrong thing, but wear a white hat to do the right thing and offer themselves. So within and outside the system, there is a capacity to do that. But there are two things that are lacking. Number one is the political will. Because when the erring party is a government institution, you have to do the right thing, not a slap on the wrist. At some point, immigration put the data, passport data page of a citizen who had not picked up the passport on Twitter.
Oh, wow.
Where?
Now, this guy did something wrong, yes? It was the case of vandalizing something at the High Commission in the UK. That is a crime on its own, vandalization, right? But you don't solve a crime by
committing another crime.
Then they put this guy's passport details online. And that question at the time that we asked is, are you going to punish NIS for this, Immigration Service? Are you going to punish them for this? When this leak happened, we approached the Data Protection Commission. And by the way, we did have a meeting in June 10, last year, with the Data Protection Commission, and they assured us. And we saw some of the things they were doing. They were training, NIMC and other agencies, which is great, which is lovely, by the way. But one of the problems that we see is that with all this capacity and training that we have, as long as you don't punish erring parties, they will do it again.
Of course.
There is no way you can tell me that we, for example, in making the payment for these fees, we saw the bank that was involved.
I was just going to ask.
This bank can be asked questions.
Yes.
Who owns this account? Whoever owns that account,
Well, you choose.
ask them questions. But if NIMC is closing their eyes, and if they say, for example, that, you know it, come and tell us, no problem. Shebi, you said go to court. We have gone to court.
Oh, let's talk about going to court, Gbenga.
I find it so ridiculous because something he said that is so easy is the fact that if they're paying for this service, there must be a payment platform. And in Nigeria, they make it so hard for you to be able to access some of this information. Like maybe Tolu mistakenly send money to another person's bank account. They'll tell you to go and get a court order to be able to compel them to hold. So what is the responsibility of these banks in protecting the monies of the people that keep it there? It's still a conversation.
Okay, so Gbenga, so let's list the number of respondents to this case. As he said earlier, Paradigm Initiative instituted a public interest litigation against 9 respondents seeking a raft of declarations and orders. Now, in this case, the National Identity Management Commission has been named the first respondent, followed by the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Nigeria Interbank Settlement Systems, Nigeria Immigration Service, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, the Federal Road Safety Corps, the Independent National Electoral Commission, and the Nigeria Data Protection Commission, as well as the Attorney General of the Federation. So what are the prayers? What redress? What are you seeking? Why go to courts? What did you ask for?
Very simple. 2 things. Number 1, find out what went wrong and punish whoever is responsible. Number 2, make sure it doesn't happen again. That's all. Is that
You're not even asking for
compensation?
No. What are you?
Money for what? Okay,
How are you going to get all your money back for us?
We are a non-profit. Our primary responsibility is to do this work. So we agree that our costs are already covered.
Okay.
So this is
because the other lawsuit that could happen is a class action lawsuit by Nigerians. That had happened to telecom companies at some point, but they were asking for 5 billion naira. If NIMC gets this, and I'm not, before they say Gbenga has instigated people, actually, you know what? Please sue. Actually, yes, sue NIMC. Because to be honest, we don't take things seriously in this country.
Yes, I was going to say
there's
that.
a lawsuit. And I think it's related to what I used to hear when I was much younger. In Yoruba, they would say, what translates to me, may you never see a court case. Maybe that's the spirit we have as Nigerians. But we need to see more court cases. Because these court cases
test our laws.
will set things right.
I think sometimes we shy away from, I think we don't like wahala. And they threaten you by saying, even the voices in your ears are telling you, if you take it to court, how long are you prepared to wait? 2 years, 5 years? They just paint such a dreary picture that you yourself go tired before you even decide to do the right thing.
We have a 2015 case that is how many years old now?
There you go. That's 10 years.
Yep. we're waiting for a date from the Supreme Court. It's on the cybercrime law, by the way, one of the most abused laws. But that one is another case.
Because I know him. There are certain things he has refused to do simply because he does not agree with parts of the cybercrime law. And it's even because of, you know, when you go some places now and they ask you your name, who you see, who you're there to see, your phone number, I lie. I lie everything. Why are you asking for my name? Why do you want my name is fine. Why do you want my phone number? Okay, phone number, maybe. But why do you want my address?
I think we take such things with levity. We just assume that you go somewhere, you write your name, you go somewhere. The way we drop information.
But interestingly, it's so much on this issue, if I'm going to a government office and I fill in this information, am I expected to have the same level of protection versus somebody who's giving their information to the government digitally?
You don't. And I've demonstrated this in one of the ministries. I took a picture of the big book. And I went upstairs and I met the bigger guy in the ministry. And I showed him or her so that they would know. And I said, listen, this is what happens when people come visiting here. Look at this man's name. Very prominent Nigerian. Look at address. And you know, because psychologically we're not paranoid, right? So we put this person put their real address and their real phone number.
Yes, because they came to do business.
Doing it for many years. No, let me ask anyone listening now. When was the last time you went to a meeting? They invited you to a meeting by email, and you go to the meeting and they ask for your email address again. And you put it in. How many times have you done that? All the time. You go to a place, you write your phone number, you are asked to drop your phone. Where security is okay, we agree. What is your purpose? Where's your address? At times you write your office address, at times you write your home address. So there is literally no protection because anyone, in fact, question to ask, and this is one question we need to ask. Where do those books go when they are full?
To say, and those sheets of paper. Do you know? I used to be a corporal who had to collect those sheets of paper.
You see, this thing being said, it took me right back to
making bolly.
Making bolly. Thank you.
You know, I was working in DBN television then. I had a colleague who came to me excited that she found someone. Apparently, she wanted to interview this person for a long time. And she came to me and saying, finally, she can call the person she has the. And I looked at her, like, when Gbenga was talking, if you looked at me, I'd zoned out. I remember she said that she went to, I wouldn't call the name of the place, but now I remember because I was sitting and thinking, I know the insignias, look, you know, and she said she went there and she saw his name. He had filled in this same register.
There you go.
And she picked the number from there. When she didn't even think about it, she wrote the number and she's going to call him. And she called him and got him on her show.
Okay, we have
so that was even then.
Now that you ask quickly. Time has got, wait, we have two before that.
Joking.
You were supposed to be in court on the 24th. Very quickly.
Yes, we were.
20 seconds before we take our blessings last question.
And you're on to something with the 24th. So we went to court on the 22nd, and some people, because this case is in court, so you know, I don't want to go
limited to what you
I
can
won't
say.
mention who was not in court. Some people didn't show up. Some showed up. Some didn't show up. We were not surprised, because they're still not taking it seriously. And so the judge has asked that we come back on the 24th. That's why you said you're on something.
February.
February.
Okay.
February 24. The case will be heard again on February 24. The real case, not filing, not motions and all that. The real case will be heard. So the case will be heard on the 24th of February. By the way, tomorrow actually, is World Data Privacy Day.
Can you come back later this week? We have more. How did I miss that day? We have more to talk about.
When I leave here, I am going to an event organized by Pride and another organization for secondary school students. Essay and debate contest about data privacy and protection. And I'm saying that to say something to NIMC and to NDPC and to others. While we are in court, fighting this case out, don't forget your other obligations. It is your job, you have a budget for it, to make Nigerians aware of their data protection.
Okay, talking about awareness, I'm sorry I'm rushing.
We have like 45 seconds.
So, talking about, speaking on digital literacy, I know that's a whole different conversation, but how can individuals better protect their data and ask for accountability from those who handle it?
Gbenga, you literally have 30 seconds. They're going to start playing our theme song.
One, sue when there's a violation. Go to RIPOTI, reporty.africa, reporty.africa, Pride Initiative, report them there. We will pay for the lawsuit for you. And number two, go to ayeta.africa. We've put all the information on how you can protect yourself. Ayeta, AYETA.africa. ripoti.africa. 30 seconds.
Okay. We'll get deeper into this at another time, especially as it concerns parents raising children in a digital age and even just being cyber smart ourselves. But a very big thank you to Gbenga Sesan for this very important conversation.